All right. Well, welcome to AdSquawk, your weekly deep dive into all things advertising. Grab a drink, pull up a chair, let's talk shop. I'm your host, Sean. Today, I've got...
Hello, I'm Jody.
I'm Eddie.
And for the first time...
Hey, it's Callie.
Whoa!
Callie
Yeah.
Cakes is in the house.
And over in the nest.
I'm very
Danielle.
excited.
Hey.
Hi, Danielle.
Hey.
Let's tell you a little bit about Callie. Can I take off with that?
Please,
So
absolutely.
Callie is a account director in the biz, and she's a flat out bitch if you
Boss
cross
bitch.
her, but somewhat bossy.
Okay.
But man, is she sharp. So what you're going to hear from Callie is a lot of really, really good insight and blunt delivery.
Oh, I'm excited you're here.
I just almost sang the lyrics
This
to a
is-
song, which
Don't.
we would have had to edit out.
Yeah, don't do that.
That's what the bleep button's for. Also, welcome back, Ed. How was vacation?
Oh, vacation was fabulous.
Do you
It
guys
was
see
so
how
nice.
We're
tan
jealous.
this man
I
is
know.
now? Oh my
That's
goodness. I'm
I
so
am
jealous.
dark.
He tans up fast.
I do tan up fast.
Especially sitting next to Jody's
Well,
paleness.
yeah, I went to the Oregon coast. Not as much sun.
Also back.
Not as
Yeah.
much sun as Mexico.
No, but I did have some good clam chowder. Not sure if that's awesome.
What do you
valid.
think? I just saw Oregonian just did a piece on the best clam chowder on the Oregon coast,
What was it?
and it was not Moe's.
Moe's. I went to Moe's. It was good.
It was some new place in Cannon Beach called, I don't remember. It was kind of a newish place. But the thing that they said that they're not fans, at least this writer was not a fan of bacon in clam chowder.
Well, he's wrong.
And that's kind of sacrilegious to me.
Yeah.
I think it was a she,
Oh.
and that
Well,
explains
she's
it.
wrong. So.
Watch
I'm
that,
sorry.
Ed. I'm going to have
don't
to
say
say
that.
know,
watch
but
that on that one.
I know.
Bacon is my everything.
That's
I don't
very
get that
sexist.
comment. Yeah. I like the bacon.
I'm confused.
I'm off mic, but still going to referee Ed as much as possible.
That's why you're here.
honestly, I will say this as a cook, that the true pork product that should be in clam chowder is salt pork. So basically cured pork that is not smoked. So it's not technically bacon because bacon is smoked. So I don't know. But where do you find salt pork? Yeah,
Specialty stores.
Yeah.
That's not.
You have to have
that's
a
not
cobbler
Walmart.
and a candlestick maker in your town to get salt pork.
I'm gonna have to put salt pork in my chowder next time. Next time I go to the coast.
yeah, but you
That
were,
sound oddly sexual.
It
Yeah,
did a little bit.
a little bit.
Not sure if
That's
it was a
right.
euphemism.
you were in my
I'll
neck
put
of the
some
woods.
salt pork
Yeah.
And I
in
came to
your
your neck of
chowder.
the woods.
I know,
We
we like-
traded places.
Flop. But you're
Oh
here
yes,
now.
Callie works in the great state of Oregon. We don't talk a lot about where we're from, but I guess we can tell.
She's not
that
with us
Callie-
every day,
Yeah.
sadly.
No, it is sad.
She's here in
In
spirit.
Home of
Spirit, yeah.
Nike,
She's
the
here in
University of
Asana.
Oregon Ducks.
Yes. Go Ducks.
Yeah.
Let's go.
No beefs.
By the way,
Go Beavs for me.
anyone here college basketball fans?
Oh, I live for
I mean,
it,
that's
Ed.
rhetorical,
it's my
right?
everyday.
Can I start with a little deal? So the North Carolina Duke game was on, and Duke's lottery pick in the first 30 seconds makes a move, and his Nike shoe blows out.
No.
Oh, yes.
Kind of strained his knee. He's going to be fine. But I've been enjoying the shit out of tweets between this guy who's like a sports betting business analyst guy and Scott Van Pelt, who's like my hero.
Yes.
And this guy, like within 30 seconds, says, Nike stock's going to go down tomorrow, yada, yada, yada. And Scott Van Pelt just like lambasted him like, dude, the guy just hurt his knee, and that's the first thing you tweet. I mean, it's just like, and the back and forth has been hilarious. And so today, Scott Van Pelt had a great tweet, and he's like, so when do we start shorting that Nike stock? Because their stock didn't go down, and it was just super funny. I think that Scott Van Pelt is one of the real
I love him.
The real
good
SVP.
guys, real good celebrity. I mean, he just does things the right way, and I really appreciate that dude.
Yep.
What do you guys think
Shout out
Nike is going to have to do to
the
react
real
to this?
SVP.
How are they going to
Not
have
the
to...
real SVP.
I was going to say, where are they at in
Yo,
this
how
conversation?
do you think they should handle this?
Oh, well, and we're gonna cover that in our tweets. Can we just go right to the tweeting?
We should
Let's do it. Let's
jump
do
to
it.
3.
Yep.
Okay, so here's what also happened. So introduce the segment.
Yeah. So let's tweet about it. So we want to talk about what brands take social media too far. We all have our favorite brands and the brands we think that do really well on social, but we want to take this time to talk about who's doing it wrong.
Puma. So, within minutes of this guy maybe blowing his knee out because of shoe failure, Puma tweets, "It wouldn't have happened if he'd been wearing Pumas," which is so classless.
Yeah,
Classless and like how many college...
And here's the thing about tweeting: it's you can pull a tweet down. People do it all the time, but then the
Screenshots.
story
Somebody
becomes that you pulled the
Someone
tweet
has
down,
saved it.
right?
Yep.
So everyone sees it,
Screenshot.
and it doesn't matter. And then you pull it down, and now it's just like even worse because it's like, of course you were an idiot. Measure twice, cut once.
I used that in an email yesterday.
You did?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that email.
Nicely
That was
done.
awesome. We're taking a measure twice, cut once approach on this.
Totally.
Mr. Client.
That's
I
great.
love that.
I mean, I think that this is something that happens so regularly with Twitter just because it is that instant nature and trying to chime in like on relevant conversations. But I mean, how many college deals does Puma have? I mean,
That's what I was going to go with that.
Totally.
Are you even in that conversation?
Like,
You could make the case that what they did is guerrilla marketing and that they at least got some mentions and notoriety and were able to position themselves against Nike. But at some point,
Dumb way.
At some point, brand matters, and you're showing you're basically saying we're a douchebag brand, right? Because we're going to make a douchebag comment for the whole world to see, even though they obviously are likely didn't intend to come across as a douchebag.
So that was their official tweet.
It was
right?
their official tweet.
So if somebody else that's a basketball player on the collegiate level
Yeah.
that loves his Pumas and he makes a comment a little bit later, like totally different. But
Right.
but
Absolutely.
the brand doing it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to be like Wendy's, right? Trying to come in and
Yeah.
roast, but doing it so wrong.
And Wendy's does it right.
well, and it's not anticipating not even the blowback, but like that is setting up something to be knocked down from like other people poking fun at your brand.
Oh,
So
yeah.
how many people then chimed in with saying like, yeah, it wouldn't have happened because they wouldn't have been on the court wearing a Puma. Like,
Right.
I mean, there's,
He's a lottery pick.
Exactly.
That's why he's not wearing Puma.
yeah.
Yeah. And the whole idea in this one specifically is that there's a dude who may have had a career-ending knee injury.
Yeah.
And it's just insensitive. It's just not, you're not going to being a good human being. What Wendy's does, on the other hand, is they just talk shit, and they talk it directly to their competitors, and there's not a third party involved. There's not a, and they're not like if McDonald's was headquartered somewhere and there was a hurricane that hit and wiped out their headquarters, Wendy's wouldn't say, "Ha ha, way to go, McDonald's! Your headquarters got wiped
Wouldn't
out."
have happened if there was a Wendy's right there.
Right? Yeah, I mean that's just But talking shit about flame broiled versus non-flame broiled is fucking fine.
But where I also respect Wendy's is they're going to throw the same shade at a customer tweeting
Yeah.
as a brand
Yeah,
tweeting.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're just going to own that the whole way through, and you don't have to be a competitor to get that shade thrown at you.
Yeah.
They've built such a brand around that is that people will straight tweet them and ask like, "Hey, roast me."
Right.
Like throw your best thing at me, and like they've built an entire content series around this.
Do you think that there was pushback within the Wendy's, whoever was in that room in the discussion of the strategy of that? How much pushback was there to be that kind of a little bit of the bad guy there?
There has to be.
Oh,
Right?
There's going to be a control freak in the room like me. That's like, hell
Yeah,
no, are we
yeah.
doing that?
That takes courage to step out and be the roaster.
Well, think about this. Basically, what we're talking about is good advertising versus bad advertising, right? And who does good advertising? Good advertising is a combination of two things: a good client and a good agency. And when those two come together,
They form a rock fist.
they do form a rock
No.
fist.
This is
Great.
Are we
I've
throwing
said
the
this many
horn?
times.
This
Great
is the
clients.
breakfast
Throw in the
club.
hook 'em.
you mess with the bull, you get the horn's head.
This is also Mr. Fox. What does Mr. Fox say?
Let's not.
No, I didn't mean it that way. Anyway,
That's the Fox, not Mr. Fox.
yeah,
totally different.
That is different. Mr. Fox.
Fantastic.
Is an alter ego guy. Anyway, great clients get great work, and great clients are willing to take that creative leap. Because what we're talking about, Twitter is just and we're going to get into this in the digital play in a minute. Twitter's just a medium. It is simply a medium. It doesn't change anything. What we're talking about is good writing versus bad writing, and good strategy versus bad strategy. Puma, it was bad strategy with irrelevant writing.
Right.
Wendy's
And bad timing.
Bad timing. Yeah.
Wendy's is a combination of good strategy and good writing. And there's all sorts of ways that good writing can get out there. You know, Taco Bell did a really cool thing with their salsa packets, 5 or 6 years ago. And it was just good writing, and they used salsa packets as a delivery vehicle, which probably reach as many people as Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised with the number of Taco Bells and the number of salsa packets they give you. Who knows?
But the opportunity of Twitter in this situation is a similar one to Oreos when the power went out in the Super Bowl. And they came in and made Oreos relevant in that conversation when otherwise totally not.
Right.
Nike could have had that same opportunity here. Where are they in this? I want to hear from them.
Well, the thing with Nike, though, is A, their market lead, right? B, they have, I think they rightly so, had the athlete's perspective in mind, right? And so they stayed silent on the subject through the evening because they're waiting to find out,
what happened? Yeah.
what
If he's
happened, how's this
okay.
guy's knee,
Yes.
yada, yada, yada. They issued a release that basically said, we're looking into what happened with the shoe. We'll let you know. And which is what somebody in the market lead should do, is just diminish and move on.
Their last tweet was February 3rd.
I was going to say, they're not very active.
They're not.
They don't have to be.
They don't.
No.
I mean,
absolutely.
tweeting is
All their
for
content's good. It's just
I think Twitter's really good for aspirational brands, right?
Yep.
Brands trying to move up in the world. Which brings me to one of inside our business, and I've mentioned this before on this podcast. RGA has a tremendous Twitter strategy. They tweet probably 2 or 3 times a day, and almost everyone makes me laugh. And it's very inside the business, but they really, whoever writes those is really.
I am curious if it's one
good writer.
person or if they've got kind of a team now working on it, because it's evolved over time.
I would assume they
Yeah.
have a team, but they definitely share a voice.
Oh,
You know,
without
they
it, it's
figured out
got a
what their
very
voice is.
cohesive strategy behind it. And yeah, I agree. I love that stuff. So, any other brands that you guys think come to mind? My favorite was bullet number 1 on the run sheet.
Well, that's all I really want to talk
Okay.
about, really.
Let's hear it, Cal.
Trump.
The end. Oh man, please take.
I
away
think
this
that it's
one.
relevant. I mean, I think that it's very relevant in regard to being like that is a brand.
Trump
It
is.
is.
the ultimate aspirational brand.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
yeah, I mean, he
Yeah.
hasn't done shit
Yeah.
for 30 years other than spend his dad's money, and he's
and lose it, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah,
spend
and get
it,
more,
and
and-
lose it.
yeah.
Yeah. But as a brand, I mean, you have to view the politics of the United States
What's
as
his
a
brand?
brand.
America?
It has to be.
His brand is just
Or just
America.
the president. That is a brand in and of itself.
Yeah.
right, which
I don't think he's.
which is
helping
where we
that out.
get to what I think most people who are not Trump supporters have an issue with his tweeting, is that he is dragging
He's not
the
presidential.
brand of the president of the United States down to the level of Trump Casino, or Trump Steaks, or
University.
Trump University,
Or
or
Trump-
Trump Ties,
Or Trump playground bully.
He just exposes himself to being so unpolished and reactive and almost childish. I mean, political views aside, have a fucking control on what you're putting out there.
Yeah.
Right.
What do you say, like, as his, say you're his press secretary, or you're on the inner circle?
They
what
quit.
What do you say to him? Like, well, but I mean, put yourself in that little circle. What do you say? Can
But
you?
how do you really
Can you
win?
redirect
You don't
that?
say anything
a little bit?
You cannot control narcissism.
That is
In
a very insightful statement.
Mic drop.
Yes.
At this level, when you get to a certain level of narcissism, I mean, there are narcissists who, at the very lowest levels, some people have called me a narcissist. You have a feeling that they might be right, and you sort of get introspective about it, and you go, shit, am I a narcissist? And how does that come out in my life? Why do I leave that impression on people? And you think about it. But once you get to a certain level of narcissism,
when you stop questioning whether or
You
not
question-
you are a narcissist. Yeah.
Exactly. And so I think that
I don't care.
history will show that he might be considered the poster child for narcissism. And so a press secretary can't say shit.
No.
I think there's a big distinction to be made between confidence and narcissism.
Of course.
Because I think that's often why you might be called that, because you're a very confident man who knows a lot about a lot of things.
Right.
But when that is coming through as just masking these deep-rooted insecurities and your narcissism rules your life, that's fucking Trump right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry I keep saying the F word. I need to stop.
No, you don't.
Stop saying the T
We have
word.
an explicit tag for a reason, Cal.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
all good. So I guess kind of taking that conversation one step further, just talking about comedians and actors and how they have really lately, a lot of them have come under fire. I mean, Kevin Hart was one who we talked
Roseanne.
about this. Roseanne was another. We talked about for the Oscars not having a host because some old tweets of his came out. But I mean, there's I guess a different layer of protection when you're looking at the president versus an individual like a comedian or an actor who's had these things in the past dug up. But
Can I tell you this? I think that Twitter is the equivalent of an AK-47. The industry, the media industry is a soldier, right? So let me draw this out.
right,
You put an AK-47 or a flamethrower or a hand grenade in the hands of a soldier, they know what it's for. They know how to use it. They've been trained on it, and they know its destructive capabilities, and they use it for good, generally. I'm talking a U.S. military, maybe. The problem with Twitter is now we've given access to media that used to only be accessible by professionals who understand how to use media, right? How would you get on TV? You had to be a newscaster. You had to run ads. You had to have some understanding. You had to be interviewed. You had to get through a gate of knowledge and perspective in order to be allowed to put your message out there. So Twitter is just free to everyone, and it's like throwing a bunch of hand grenades in a school playground and saying, "Go for it. See if you can pull the pins out." Does that make sense?
I get what you're
We
saying.
don't let people put restaurants on every corner. I mean, you can't go out on the streets of New York City and open up a pop-up restaurant without a permit and without some health code stuff and yada yada.
Lots of hoops.
There's a few hoops to jump through
Right.
in most professions, and media is no different. But now technology has allowed media to go to the people, and people who have careers at stake want to use it that way, and then they get themselves in trouble because they don't go through the process of learning how the media works.
Their need to be relevant supersedes what I can only describe as like having a feel for the situation. And Puma's
Good judgment.
tweet is the best example of
Yeah.
it. Like, you want to be relevant so badly that you forget that what you're saying is stupid and you just need to be heard. It goes back to narcissism. You need to be heard. You need to be at the forefront of the conversation. You need to have the funniest tweet. You want to get those engagements, the likes, the retweets, all these things. But you're forgetting that there's a much bigger picture to
They're not
everything.
measuring twice.
Twitter
Yeah.
is crack for narcissists.
Yeah.
But I think on the comedian scale,
Yeah. I
there's
like
an
this comedian
interesting
match.
dichotomy because is it a stage?
Well, and comedians should know better, right? And so, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's
they
staged.
should know better. But are they also then should they be judged in the same way from?
Right.
That's what I'm
At a
saying. If it's a
comedy
stage,
versus-
if they're
yeah.
doing stand up on a stage, you're not going to go home and be like, that dude's the most racist dude I've ever experienced my
Yeah.
entire life and
It's-
he should not get a single job ever
Yeah.
because he's in the middle of a skit.
part of this. Yeah, the
Right.
shtick.
Yeah.
But social media is taken with so much more seriousness that they can't get away with it. And they are taken to this high extreme of you can't be politically incorrect on Twitter anymore.
Yeah.
You're going to get ridiculed.
And a
But
lot
it-
comedians are a different breed than a normal person, and at a certain point they become so desensitized to what they're saying, and they don't give a shit about the regular person's reaction. They're speaking a lot of the time to other comedians and trying to garner a reaction from them. So that's why a lot of the things that they're saying are come off so extreme to regular people, but to another comedian it's like, oh, that was funny, I understand the joke. I'm obviously a stand-up comedian, so I can speak on this. I just listen to a lot of comedy podcasts.
You know, I that's an interesting topic because I also think that it folds over on itself in that Twitter makes people who aren't comedians think they can be comedians because now they have a stage.
Yeah.
And so I often find myself when I'm going through my Twitter feed,
Because you're
I don't tweet very much because of my demographic, but I find myself thinking I would really like to have something to say to this, but I'm not funny enough
You
right
still have
in
a
this
feel.
moment.
You have a feel.
I have a feel for timing, and so I prevent myself from saying it.
Or is it just because you're not funny?
Well, it might be. It might be that.
but at least being self-aware enough to know.
So there are two people that I follow that I really, really appreciate their perspective. One is Lee Cloud's Beard, and he writes some funny shit and very poignant shit. Not all of it's funny. Most of it's actually not funny, but it's advertising specific, and it's
Let me just retract that.
Is he Ad Age?
well.
What I meant
What's that?
Ad Age?
No, Lee Cloud's Beard.
Well, Lee Cloud.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, is this a parody account or is it?
No, it's
oh,
him.
It's actually him. Okay.
It's him, and he puts out these little nuggets of wisdom, and they're very curmudgeon-y,
Not all funny.
Not all funny.
curmudgeon-y ad
Hardly
guys.
ever funny.
Well, no, they are funny to me, but they're not. Anyway, fuck you guys.
It's not funny, haha.
I was just curious.
Yeah, they make you chuckle, but in a yeah.
But inside, not outside.
Right.
Okay.
And then another one is Senator Ben Sass from Nebraska. Now, what I like about him is he's got his senators.
Such an interesting dichotomy.
He's got his these are two very separate people.
Yeah.
So he's got his official U.S. Senator's Twitter account, but then he's got his own personal account. And on his own personal account, he just says funny shit that is him. But people just flock and say, why don't you do your fucking job as a senator and quit being a smartass on Twitter? It's like, wait a minute, this man's a human being. He's allowed to have an opinion.
But are you? I actually completely disagree. I think that if you're in that role, you cannot separate the fact that you're the senator with being a human. You don't get to be like, over here I'm going to be this asshole.
And he doesn't try to. So he has this hashtag that whenever somebody like goes off on him because of something he said, which is never politically. I mean, nothing that he posts on his personal Twitter account is political. It's just funny stuff that he sees. Like, so the other day he said to the Russian robot, what do they call it when they're over there sending out tweet farm people, the Russians. What am I trying to say?
I have no idea.
Not AI, but they're anyway. So trolls. Jesus, sorry.
No, it's all
I'm
good.
like looking at my digital expert, and he's like,
I was like, what, hackers? What are you trying to say? Like,
so these.
sorry, I'm usually better about that.
He goes to the Russian troll that doesn't speak great English. This evangelical going balls deep in God this weekend is probably not going to happen because he received a tweet that said we're balls deep in God. He's like, that's not a good. Said no Christian fundamentalist ever.
Nope.
Because Ben Sass is like a Christian fundamentalist. That's fucking funny.
It is funny.
But then everyone says, "Get back to work, you asshole," when he tweets
Hey.
something funny like that.
At least he uses his personal account.
Right.
Yeah.
So
There is no such thing
Right.
when you're in a role like that.
Well, that's true. But here's my point: is
the real
so
Donald Trump.
so
I
the
get what
two
you're saying.
things that I would love to do is be retweeted or liked by Ben Sass or Lee Cloud. But every time, but I can never think of a response that I feel is smart enough or funny enough to like get the like from them. And so I'm kind of like.
You want a pro tip?
An analysis
Text me.
paralysis.
I was going to
Text
say,
me
you
or
want a pro
Danielle.
tip? You want a pro tip?
Wait, what?
Turn on post notifications so you know right when they do that. So then you can like
Be the
let
first
it,
one.
Let it sit for like 5 minutes and then chime in.
Right.
Again, be careful. Don't let your need to be relevant
Well,
overcome
exactly.
your feel.
And that's my point. Is that
Way to go. Way to be
You
a
gotta
fence.
wait until you have something.
She's
to
always
say.
the voice of reason.
Yep.
Well, not always.
Don't
but
respond to every tweet, but
I'm always the voice.
Which,
of
by
reason.
the way, is exactly what we preach with brands, is that you have to have something to say, and it has to be truthful,
Yep.
and then you have to say it well.
Truth
Dun, dun.
spoken well.
Bottom line, that's shit.
I like it.
Yep.
I don't have anything to add to that.
All right. Well,
Kelly's a bottom
masterful.
line kind of gal.
Absolutely.
You are. Yeah.
Give me the bottom line.
Just fucking cut to the chase.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes,
I'm bad at that. Honestly.
we know.
I have to throw 3 analogies out before I
What? You're a storyteller. You're a story. You like metaphor.
If by chase me we mean chase my tail, then I'm good at it.
Yes. And thorough. Chase 3 times.
just 3
1
seconds.
point.
Bite once.
All right. I think we thoroughly covered that
Chase
topic.
twice, bite once.
/ offended a third or 2/3 of our audience, but hey,
You're welcome.
That's what we do. You're
that's
welcome.
what we're here. That's what podcasting's for. So the next segment we wanted to talk about is culture chirps for this week. Dominance of digital. So eMarketer put out a report very recently that's saying 2019 is going to be the first year where digital media spend outpaces traditional. First time in history.
Is that quicker than it was supposed to be? Like, go back 5 years and they're like, oh, it's going to outpace blah, 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 blah.
I think that it's, as I've been kind of tracking this over the years, it's been a steady increase. I mean, so it was a forecasted 19% growth in this year. So it'll be 54% of all paid media will be digital. It's 129 billion.
With a B.
With a B, I think it's a lot of factors that come into this. Not only are more people utilizing digital advertising, but costs are now kind of catching up to the market. So
That's a big factor.
So you're paying more for less than someone who went in 5 years ago and like fully invested in a Facebook strategy or,
5 years ago, I went to a conference in Vegas about ad spend and the breakdown of traditional versus digital, specifically in the auto industry. However, that was when people were freaking out, being like, what is this digital space? We don't know what to do there, and you're going to expect us to spend 50% of our budgets there. Fast forward to now, for that to only be 5 years and for that to be surpassing, I feel like that's an extremely fast rate.
Well, but I want to throw a little cold water on it, because when you look at what they consider traditional, so I have a kind of a problem with the idea of digital versus traditional, because
Right.
it's all just media. to
it
me.
absolutely
All
Yes.
tools in the
And
toolbox.
so what got replaced? You know what really got replaced by digital? Fucking phone books.
Yellow
Phone
pages.
books. Okay,
Yeah.
Yellow
No,
pages.
absolutely.
Right? So when I graduated from college in 1990, I was an ad salesman in the television business, and who did I sell against? I sold against the Yellow Pages, because that shit was expensive.
Yeah.
And it didn't do shit. It wasn't
still
branding.
is expensive.
Right? It was transactional.
expensive.
It was transactional. It was shopper. It was shopper, shopperization or whatever you want to call it. And that's been replaced by digital almost 100%.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, Google just wiped that out. So there's a good portion of your gains right there. In comes Google, out goes Yellow Pages, right? Then you take the decline of newspaper advertising from a standpoint of branding. But newspaper advertising, in my opinion, is going to have a bit of a resurgence, and it's even showing that because people are starting to become wary of internet news, and so the content that newspaper provides comes back. So think about this. Let's put this in big picture perspective. What was the content that the Yellow Pages delivered?
Phone numbers.
Directory.
Phone
I mean,
numbers.
it's
Addresses.
It was the most basic content possible, right? It was, how do you reach these people by phone? Well, technology just wiped that out. It's like telegraphs or other things that have gone away. So anytime we have these conversations, we have to look at the end of the day, and this saying has been around for 10 years, content is king. If you have content that people care about, then you're a viable media to reach people with, and so the replacement of phone books is kind of like, no duh.
I actually got a phone book dropped on my front porch the other day.
They still exist.
I opened it up.
Great fireplace.
Well, I opened it up because I just wanted to know who was placing in this still. Like,
I've
how is
placed
this still a
stuff-
thing that's being dropped on my...
I've placed stuff into Yellow Pages, and
Recently?
at my last agency, and I had a conversation with my boss, and I was like, I don't understand why we're doing this. They're terrible to work with. The contracts are always intentionally confusing and misleading, and it made sense for the client. She said, contractors, I know several contractors who just have stupid flip phones. They don't know how to get a hold of people, so they reference their yellow books all the time to find whatever fucking company they need to work with.
Well, in this
But it
one,
was-
A
it
cell
was all
phone company?
winning.
Every plumbing company
Plumbing,
starts
that's what
with
I was gonna
A.
say.
Yeah.
A to Z, A to Z plumbing.
Aardvark storage.
A1 plumbing, baby.
Yep.
Which, by the way, here's
But I
one of
do
the things.
not like it.
Here's a story from the old days. So when I was selling television, I would say, why does all the plumbing people start with A? Because they want to be at the front of the Yellow Pages, right? And so I'd hand them I say, grab your phone book. I'd say, look up mattresses for me. And they would take the book, because most people are right-handed. So they'd hold the book in their right hand. They'd take their left hand and start with their thumb from the back to the front.
To A.
Well, you're going from Z to A.
Exactly.
So you're better off at the end of the listings instead of at the beginning of the listings, because people are...
Well, and you're going to be the only...
I mean, it was a stupid little sales trick.
No,
But I would say, why are you spending this kind of money?
But I'm left-handed. And when I think about the way that I would grab that,
I
I'm
never knew
still
that.
going from the back to the front because of the way you're opening it.
Yeah.
And
For
if
our
I'm
audio
holding it with my
listeners.
right hand and I'm opening it with my
Turning.
left,
Well, I think that most people, if I handed you a book, you would hold it with your left hand and open it with your right, because your dominant hand wants to hold the book. But I don't know. It didn't matter. It was just a stupid sales trick. But I would use it to show kind of the
it wasn't
absurdity.
real. I just told them that
well,
to make
no,
them buy
it was the absurdity of trying to game the system. Right. So you deal with this all the time in digital ad buys.
All the time.
Especially Google, people thinking that they can somehow game the system, game the logarithms, game the...
So how can I be number one in Google for every keyword?
Exactly.
and cut every corner possible.
So I don't have to pay you any money, right?
Some black hat marketing right there.
Yeah, and think about all those sales funnel people who are out there, .com, secrets.com, people that are totally trying to they're making these imaginary sales funnel, imaginary business plans, imaginary everything, trying to game the system. That's just it's the chatter around our business.
It is. Now, I mean, and you know this, I preach this all the time. SEO is something that goes into everything that you do, all of your marketing efforts. It's not just a service you tack on to try and, get to the top of Google.
It's a toolbox, man. Bring the whole toolbox.
Bring the whole toolbox.
So while you're saying digital is replacing the phone book, why do you think it's getting to the point of surpassing traditional?
Well, if you take all of the phone book out of traditional and you put that money into digital, it just turns
Yeah, but
Now, what I've-
Yellow Pages it's been kind of relegated for a while. So I think that you combine that with the decline in newsprint advertising and
right. But television's only down like 2%.
Right,
In a non-Olympic year,
TV,
in a
radio, they're
in a non yeah.
and billboards, which another topic we'll touch on here in a minute. But I think you're right. It's kind of going from one pool to the other. But
It's all about it's all about who has content. So do we consider OTT a digital buy, or do we consider it a traditional buy?
yeah, and we've had
Is Hulu traditional or digital?
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyone want to answer that? I mean, everyone's shaking their heads.
It would be classified as digital. However, we've had many conversations
We view
based
it as
around
traditional.
it's
Yeah.
traditional
Right.
because
Yes.
it's consumed on a TV.
Yes.
Right.
So
if you consume something on a computer screen, that's digital,
Because you can
Not
also watch
necessarily.
Hulu on your tablet or your
right?
phone.
Because
That-
and I know I have a friend who hooked up a computer monitor to their satellite and watches it through. I
I watch
so my
Hulu on
point
my
is-
TV.
Yeah,
not on
I
my
do.
computer.
is that there is no distinction. It's all about where the content is. So, mobile devices are a platform for content, right? By the way, they've also replaced the phone book because all the phone numbers you need to know are in your mobile device, right?
I don't know any
I don't
phone
e-
numbers anymore.
Yeah. So my wife asked me
like
the other
two.
day, "Do you know your son's phone number?" in case you have to get a hold of them. I don't. And she said, what if you don't have your cell phone and you need to go get a hold of your son? That opened my eyes. I'm like, shit.
It's a good question.
Do you remember how many boyfriends' phone numbers you used to memorize as a kid?
Yeah, I still have a few in my brain that
Always.
it's like, please forget. You
Which
know?
you're like, I can't get rid of them.
No.
No, they're stuck in there forever.
We should call him.
Oh, that'd be so fun.
So I want to ask you guys a question.
Next segment.
No, not next segment. Not even close to next segment. So when looking,
No, I meant calling my old boyfriends. Yeah. Thanks.
I thought you were like, let's move
Callie
on.
calls old love interests.
Do you ever creep on people from like elementary school
All
and,
the
and
time.
junior high on
That's what
You're
social
Facebook?
gonna
media's
put that
for, man.
shit out there. I'm gonna creep on you.
Facebook is socially acceptable stalking. Come on.
Just don't poke them on accident.
No, bad idea.
All right.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Just,
No, you're totally fine. So here's the question. Yes, digital and traditional, there are some blurred lines there, but the targeting capabilities within digital ultimately are what segment it into a different grouping in my mind. So while
Yeah.
yes, Hulu is consumed on a TV, you're buying it demographically
Yeah.
as opposed to, buying it
Program.
by programming or trying to
Time
buy
slot.
demo based on Nielsen books.
Yeah.
So the ability to refine that targeting through a digital medium is what then classifies it as digital.
Which makes it really good promotional advertising, right?
Right.
In the now.
promotional.
Exactly.
100%.
Versus branding.
versus brand for sure.
And not to completely be the autofocus person in this conversation, but it's my life. So there is an article that was also released recently that talked about how with the surge of digital spend, we're starting to see advertisers swing the pendulum the other direction.
How much have you
It's
had
the
to drink?
Callie's
margarita.
hammered, baby.
Oh my God. But basically, we're missing the branding.
Right.
And brands aren't being thought of to be typed into that search engine.
Yep.
And you can't sustain a business if you don't have that branding element. So
It's
you're
the
starting to.
absolutely.
I'm going to full circle this. Why do you think Nike hasn't tweeted since February 3rd? Because they brand, baby. They fucking brand all day long.
Mm-hmm.
They spend their money on their brand.
Branding, just do it.
Just do it.
Right. And they take big risks. You know, we started one of these early podcasts on the Colin Kaepernick deal.
Yep.
And every time Nike comes up on Twitter or Facebook, there's a whole line of comments of "fuck you, Nike, I'll never buy another shoe." Guess what? They don't care because they're out there branding and getting after it with the people who matter to them.
Well, and I was going to offer that I don't think that positioning theory, right?
Right.
They don't need to create that personality for themselves because they're already at the top, whereas these others need to.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's multiple factors going into it, but the bottom line is, so for instance, we were talking about targetability, and yes, I agree that having that data to show you and knowing exactly that you can deliver your message to a very, very precise audience is great, but it's not that big of a sea change of what we knew. So the yellow pages could have literally told people, every person who sees your ad, Mr. Plumber, is looking for plumbing.
Right.
100% of the people who see your ad are looking for plumbing.
Except for when you open to the residentials and there's an ad for plumbing.
Hate that.
The residentials.
That's usually a bonus.
The white pages?
Yeah.
Sure, sorry.
Well, yeah, but that's free, right? So the residential, and so that's what I used to tell people, pay for a bold listing in the residential and then go brand and tell yourself that you're A1 Plumbing. And then people will actually go to the yellow pages or the white pages looking for A1 Plumbing's number versus going to the yellow pages and looking at 10 different ads, and now you have to compete on size.
That all you use the same clip art.
Yes, exactly.
It all comes back to size.
So, but
column inches.
but
Dang it.
right? Okay. Anyway,
So the other component of this that we haven't dived into yet was that mobile focused campaigns accounted for 2/3 of this spending.
2/3.
2/3.
Wow.
So
That makes sense.
to me, that lumps social in.
Yeah.
And anything like that. It's not necessarily just, it's anything that's accessible on a mobile device, not just mobile targeted ads. Because if that's the case, then, bless you.
Bless you.
How dare you do that in here?
He tried so hard.
He pointed away from the microphone. No, that's good. To me, that that number's crazy, and we live in such a mobile-first environment. Everyone's, in a multi-screen environment too. So you've got the TV on, you've got your laptop on in front of you, and you're scrolling.
Well,
on
and
your phone.
that's what I love to see in today's advertising environment is brands and agencies who get it right from a standpoint of looking at the synergy between the multiple screens. And we were talking about Super Bowl versus March Madness in an earlier podcast. And this is one of the things that I really love about March Madness is many of the advertisers that have been long-term committed to March Madness take a mobile and multiple screen approach first, and they have their whole shit covered from a standpoint of you're seeing their stuff on multiple screens. And there's just sporting events is just such a really good avenue for this type of marketing.
Yeah.
You see it around the Masters, a very targeted, upscale white male audience. You see it around basketball, which is a very different audience. But you see this multiple screen action because they're sports that are on. There's a lot happening at once, and you can't see it all on one screen. And so, utilizing the technology to deepen your deepen the experience that the people get with your brand.
Can we talk though about how much waste is on mobile advertising?
Oh, there's a ton.
Because I watch my nephews who know how to use an iPad. They don't know how to do much. They're 4, but they can X out of an ad quicker than anyone I know.
Skip that.
Well, and so it's it's interesting. Google recently in the AdWords side of things has turned off the ability to completely disable app advertising. It used to be just kind of a normal checkbox that I put on every one of our campaigns. Just don't even bother putting it in mobile apps.
Yeah.
And so they've taken that ability away because I think that there was too much inventory there. But if I'm playing a game on my phone, I don't want to see an ad.
But the majority of time that you're using your mobile device, you have an intention. You're
Absolutely.
doing something. And so when that ad comes and disrupts you, you want it gone.
But that's, you're right. But that's why I like utilizing like Facebook advertising.
100%. And I agree with that. But
yeah.
when you really think about
Standard display, like your
Yes.
320 by 50 ad that pops up on the bottom of a mobile app game, like that's not where we're putting our dollars for the most part. There's you can leverage that in some instances for some brand messaging and added frequency, but you have to make sure it's extremely cost effective.
And this is where creativity and understanding synergy between the game or the app and the brand and all those things comes into play, right? As well as messaging, right? As well as the creative product itself. If you don't want your ad skipped, make something that's unskippable,
Agreed.
right? Content is king also in the advertising world, not just in the content world.
It's the same reason that Red Bull can run a 30-minute ad on YouTube is because
Absolutely.
people see it and they're like, this is cool shit. I want to watch. This is something I would have watched.
it feels like you're watching content,
Exactly.
not an ad.
Because it is content.
Yeah.
And that's exactly it.
And
Like,
this is the type of shit that Lee Cloud's beard tweets every goddamn
full
day.
circle. Good job.
It fucking matters. The message
good today.
matters.
I
The
know.
brand matters. What did he say the other day? This was a great tweet. He said, if you realize that you don't have enough budget to do everything right, why do you keep trying to do everything?
yeah.
See, that is
something to that
funny.
effect.
Well, and it's-
something to that effect.
No,
See, that's not funny. Ha! Well,
No,
you
it's
thought it was
fun-
funny.
yeah.
Right.
No, but it's like, duh.
Yeah. But we do that all the time in this business. Bottom line is there's a ton of dipshits in this business who just are in it from a transactional standpoint. And then there are a ton of really, really smart people in this business who give a shit and really care about it and think that advertising does drive our economy and drive capitalism and a bunch of things. And we should do it right. And we should do it well. And those are the agencies that do well, ultimately.
Well, it's advertising as art.
Absolutely.
Well, and it's finding
and
the
it's
right
art in commerce.
finding the right tools. That
I stole that line from somebody. I think it's a certain Boulder agency that's very, very famous.
well done. Way to borrow that.
Don't shut them out.
Tools, but my point, the tools matter.
The tools absolutely
Right.
matter.
So the whole discussion about digital is it's just different tools, right? There's other tools than all the traditional stuff. It's all still part of the toolbox, and they all have value. Some of it overlaps. You got concentric circles, but it's figuring out what's the right products, what's the right stuff to do for the job, right? I'm not going to take a hammer to go saw a tree down because
Yeah.
that's stupid, right? I'm going to find the right tool for the right job.
Or even less obvious. If you're building a house, you need both a nail gun and a hammer. They both put nails into wood.
Yep.
But they do them in different ways.
Right.
Right.
I was going to come in and say it kind of comes full circle to what you said at the beginning of this. Looking at it as traditional versus digital, black and white.
Yeah.
As an
It's a
account
bit
director,
more complicated than that.
And you have to train your clients. It's not like you can't look at it as just one versus the other. They have to work
Right.
together, and we have to really be strategic about the way that we're looking at it because so much they're going to hear this. They're going to hear digital spend is outspending traditional. We can't put our money in traditional anymore because everyone's at digital, but it's not that way.
It's not. Well, to me, that screams no. Now double down in
Right,
certain
own
traditional
traditional, right?
areas
Yeah.
because you're going to be there's going to be far fewer players in the space if you're doing it right, and you're going to be able to stand out.
Qualifier with
100%.
that.
Yeah.
You have to do it right.
Well, right, exactly. It's like we're just going to buy a bunch of cable rotators. No, it's like you got to strategic placements.
100%.
Well, I think that separates who the really good are in the biz,
Yeah.
right? Is being able to utilize the right tools the right way to get the best ROI for your clients.
Yep.
That was a good nugget. to
So
end
saith
on.
the shepherd.
So
So saith the flock.
I have a question.
That's
Can
a line
Can
from-
I chime in with
That's
a
a line
question
from
really
Let's
fast?
do it.
Porky's,
No, this is
if
great.
anyone's wondering.
Wow.
It was really biblical sounding.
It was.
So I'm curious what you guys are calling your followers.
Oh.
Because
I
I'm a
believe they're
guest
called
speaker.
flockers.
I was going to say, I want to be a part of the flock,
Meet
but
the
I don't
flockers.
know what you guys
Mother
are calling
flocker.
your
Mother
flock.
flockers.
We just call them the flock, but I really do like flockers.
Yeah.
I do
Mother
too.
flockers.
So
Meet the flockers.
Come out with some merch.
Flockers.
we
I'm a
have
flocker.
like,
Get flocked.
do we have 10 flockers yet?
Counting the people in this room, maybe.
Our
And
first
1, 2.
episode has, as of this moment, 62 downloads.
Hey now.
Oh,
What the fuck?
Well into the double
Boom,
digits.
boom.
So we need to brand
If you
this.
had 62,
I want to be a
if you
part
had
of the flock.
62 birds in your house, that would seem like a fucking lot.
It's a gaggle.
Yeah.
Oh
That's
shit!
a big. It's a big flock.
It's a murder of crows for sure.
It is a
It's
murder of crows.
Look at all these bird references.
So
You
good.
guys.
Have you
So
been
good.
listening? That's all this podcast
No, I know, but
is.
that's why I'm saying. Like, I want to
Podcast.
know what to call myself. Am I a flock?
Well,
Flocker?
you're on it.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're
Not
you're one of
normally,
like
though.
big
I
birds.
mean, I'm
now.
still just a fan at
know
the end
what?
of the day.
You're in.
Just a fan.
You are in.
All right. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Part of the club.
Blood in, blood out. Get ready, Callie.
Bird of a feather, baby.
This is me hitting my fist into my other hand, just so you guys know. Oh,
Well,
shit.
that was you
So
hitting the
guys-
microphone with your face.
It wasn't my face. It was my elbow.
Oh, okay.
Don't
It looked like
fake
your
news
face.
me right now. Michael.
Hey, I just am concerned about you.
Tristan Thompson.
You.
Fake news.
Yeah, if you guys want to get into that in marketing, we can, but we shouldn't.
Maybe there should be a post segment of me and Danielle talking Khloe
the post show,
Kardashian
the
5 minutes of
non-existent
just
post
that.
show.
and The Bachelor.
Yeah, but I actually don't.
Sweet
watch that one.
Lord. I'm going to need another
I was gonna say
drink.
now that we have this podcast studio, I'm surprised someone hasn't been like, "Can we do a bachelor cast?"
I don't need to fly out for another hour and a half. We got time.
You can have
Kelly's
to
got
refill your
flights.
drink.
Way to keep with the bird theme.
It is.
Yeah.
It's true.
You guys go into Mega Billboard, and I'm gonna get myself another drink and pee. Bye.
And refill mine. Thanks, bye.
Okay, you want one?
Thanks. Well played.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you. Next.
I think Eddie needs one too.
This is juice.
Yeah, he's
He's-
got.
I just
he
need
brought his-
ice. I've got my
Yeah,
own
he brought
bottle
his
back
own.
How are
here.
you gentlemen?
I'm good.
He brought his own. This
prepared.
is like a
very nice
fancy.
bottle of Glenmorangie Highland single malt Scotch whiskey.
Brought to
the
you by.
Nectar d'Or.
We need to
Extra
get.
matured in Saturnese cask, 12 years old.
Who's
We need to be sponsored by
Glenmorangie.
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 That sounds like a fake name.
It's the ad man's drink of choice. Glenmorangie.
So
It's not Booker's.
Eddie,
Glenn Morangi.
would you consider yourself when you post on any of your own owned media channels to be posting as Eddie or to be posting as Eddie the ad man?
Ooh. I just post as Eddie. So my Twitter account is Eddie Moore II, Eddie Moore 2, because I'm the second. Eddie Moore II, at Eddie Moore II. And I suppose in my description, I think I say the trifecta: Boy Scout, father, cook, or something like that. I don't
Chef.
even.
But the
I
way
don't
you
even-
don't use
approach,
the
but
other
the
C
way
word?
that you approach
I say
content.
cook because I don't consider myself a trained chef, or something like that. No, maybe I say I might have said altar boy too.
Oh,
which
Christ.
is a little
Wow.
weird
That is
these
so
days.
That
Boy
is-
Scout, altar boy, and father. Wow,
I
that's
don't like it. I
would
really
change
don't like
that.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't think that I say admin.
No, I'm just curious subconsciously how you approach it content wise. Are you viewing it as Eddie or are you viewing it as Eddie Adman?
Just Eddie. But this podcast is changing that point of view a little bit
Yeah.
because I do want, I want this thing to work and I want, but I don't necessarily care whether people know it's me or not.
But
Like,
you're
I'm okay
always a
with-
representation of your brand,
Right.
regardless of it being
True.
tagged Adman or not.
Which is why I
yes.
don't post much. So like even on Facebook with my family and friends. So I just got back from vacation, right?
Yeah.
I was in Mexico for a week. I didn't post anything from Mexico. I don't think it's real smart to let everyone know that you're out of town.
We
for
were
a
going to
week.
have a party at your house.
Oh, that's why
Right.
shit didn't get done.
slash I have TVs missing. Secondly, I just don't have that whole look at me, look how great my life is thing
You're
because I
not
don't
a
believe any of
narcissist?
it. Well, maybe I'm not. I hope I'm not. I mean, I've been called that. Did we discuss this? So I don't post a whole heck of a lot. Occasionally, I will lose my shit on somebody's post and have
I've
to
heard
like,
about this.
yeah, have to just like
Just delete
weigh in.
Facebook.
Yeah, but that's usually.
Have
due
any
to
of you ever
time of
taken
day.
a social media hiatus?
I did.
I
I took
have-
Facebook off my phone for
I
about
did.
6 months.
I have never.
I haven't either. I mean, I'm so ingrained in it from a,
Just work.
just work side
part
where
of
it's like
your brand.
I can't. I feel like I can't step away. Now that being said, there have been times where I've gone on vacation and not had cell service, and that's been the greatest unplug ever.
But
Yeah.
I don't call that a social
not-
media
it's not.
hiatus. I'm really talking deleting it.
Intentional.
Or,
Yeah.
yes.
I've taken an intentional.
You
hiatus.
have.
I did.
Eddie,
I did take a hiatus.
did you give it up for Lent?
No, Carolyn and I just decided. She kept making fun of me for checking my phone all the time, and so I just took it off.
Was
of my
that social
phone.
media oriented? Were you checking?
Yeah, I was checking Facebook.
Okay.
This was maybe 3 years ago, and I was posting more back then too. Now, what I find myself doing, and this is horrible, but I will literally be looking at Facebook going, why do I give a shit about any of this? Turn it off. This is like the third post I've read from this person, and I don't care. Not to mention, and this is where the industry is going to struggle, is that I'm a little creeped out by how they. So, for instance, I was trying to book some airfare on.
Did you get retargeted?
I did. I was booking. I was on the American Express site because we have like 611,000 points, and so I was booking
Brag
airfare
about it.
for the Agency Management Institute trip. Shout out to Drew McClellan and the Agency Management Institute. And I was booking airplane tickets, trying to use our Amex points, and it's all fucked up because our Amex is set up wrong.
Because
Amex,
there's so many points.
we love you, but our website is messed up because our CFO is the head of the account, and I'm like an authorized user, and but I'm a platinum card, and he's a green card, and it was just I was getting all confused. So I'm going back and forth in the MX site, and then ever since then, I get every other ad on Facebook is for American Express, and that creeps me out just a titch. RGA tweeted something the other day. He said, "I used car in a conversation, and now every
Yeah.
my phone has become my 83-year-old mother who picks up on something, and just now it's like."
Every conversation involves them.
It's like that salesman. So, have you ever met? There's a particular guy in our town who I won't mention, but Sean, you would know, and they take the one thing that they know about you, and then they bring it into every conversation that they see you. So for me, it's the high school I went to has a very unique mascot, and it's very politically incorrect. So every time this salesman sees me, he's like, "Hey, da 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 da, high school, insert high school, da da da, insert mascot. I bet the people up in insert high school, da da da, this is insert mascot." And he does it every time. It's like, I just saw you yesterday, and you're still, it's like, and so the retargeting can be that way. You have to be smart about it, because if you're just shoving it down people's throat, it no longer
You
becomes
become
effective.
that guy.
It's exactly what you're saying about your 4-year-old nephews.
Yes.
They know how to exit out. You have to be not only relevant, but have a message that is that resonates.
My other issue recently has been I don't search for anything, but
Nothing?
have conversation. And all of a sudden, there is an ad pertaining to a conversation I've had, and
Yes.
it creeps me the fuck out.
Well, and here's the other thing. So here's my specific gripe, and this is a much more of a marketing problem than a advertising problem. So I'm on American Express's website. I cannot get what I want to get done. I am a platinum member, but I can't figure out how to get to the platinum rewards and do my shit. And so I'm trying to figure that part of it out on their website, and then I'm getting served ads. Get a platinum card, and I'm like, I'm already fucking fuck you.
Like,
I'm a
who the fuck
platinum
would
card
want to be a
member, and
platinum?
you're trying to sell me platinum card when all I want to do is use my platinum card for what it's meant to do. And I don't know if it's the way we set it up or if it's so this is where advertising can work against you, which goes right back to the Twitter thing, right? Comedians, politicians, whomever, be careful, because you throw that shit out there, you better have product to back it up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why Nike didn't have to comment on the shoe thing, because they have a brand.
No passion in that.
I know.
No.
Did you guys even make it to Mega Billboard?
No, we're getting there now. We're getting there now.
Nope.
So
Who are you
I'm
right
just,
now?
I'm just trying to catch up. You know, I'm
Okay.
Carolyn. I'm Carolyn today. I'm keeping you guys on topic.
Crack the whip.
Yes,
that whip.
Carolyn, I miss you. I love you. Goodbye.
You narcissists.
So, third topic for today, reinventing out a home. So, have you guys been to Times Square?
Nope.
I
No.
have been to Times Square.
I've never been to New York City, and I don't think I would visit Times Square if I went.
I will tell you that is one of the gripes I have. So I'm going to mention Drew McClellan again, who runs AM Agency Management Institute.
Name dropper.
Great guy. and has a great advertising podcast you can check out.
What's it called? You should say the name.
What is his podcast
Yeah, cool.
called? I
Link
think
to
it's
it
just
in the
I think it's just
Edit
AMI.
that part out.
Oops.
Anyway, Google AMI.
We'll just overdub it.
So Drew and I are not alike in one respect, in that Drew loves Disneyland and he loves things of that nature. The touristy kind of like stuff is his thing.
It's his jam.
And my thing is like
I was just
under the
at
radar. So last time AMI was in New York, our hotel was smack dab in the middle of Times Square. And I was just like, oh my God,
But
I
he
cannot
thinks he's appealing
fucking
to
handle this.
all of you going, thinking you're gonna love
Right.
this.
Well, and it
This
was a
is gonna
short
be
walk to a Broadway
amazing.